Hello, welcome everybody to another episode of Arthur's Roundtable. Super happy you're here with us today and grateful for everybody that's paying attention and sharing. And we're super grateful for that. And thank you again. Uh, Many of you have seen Alex in a prior episode, longtime friend and colleague of mine, super human in many ways, just a stellar guy. So how about that, Alex? And I don't have to rub you the right way. I just want to. So thanks for doing this today. We're going to talk about a little bit of Alex's journey, but the subject today is ToneWell, which some of you have heard about, and I think you'll find it super interesting. So, Alex, thanks for doing this. Let's start at the beginning.
I appreciate you having me on, Arthur. As always, it's a pleasure just to chat. So here we are.
Yeah.
So the beginning. I started in the music business. I am a consumer goods person, so I don't have any other extraordinary talent other than when I see something, I tend to know what to do with it. So I'm very good at problem solving, which is really all music was, as not a musician or trying to be discovered. Like you found something that you thought the world should know about, and then how do you get the world to know about it? And that's what I did. And like I had a great time out of college and through the 90s is what I like to describe as just being a pirate. Like you'd load into a van and I had a Rand McNally map and a roll of quarters and right off to the next town. And you had to collect your booty along the way and your little prize pieces and figure out how to do that. And it was a wild, really fun time. I recommend that everybody kind of, go the way of Kerouac, right? Like just go out and find the great adventure and see what happens. I then tried my
Almost famous, right?
yeah, exactly. Well, that's the funny thing is that the truth of that story is it's where I recognized that I wasn't going to be a music business guy because every time I would find something like the guy with the bigger, better deal would show up. You know what I mean? Like you toil to do something, you'd be like, I got you guys a tour bus, and then the guy with the airplane would show up, and you're like,
Right.
so I recognize that like I'm a you can leave me alone guy, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that like I'm pretty self-sufficient as a human being. I like to give, I like to help, but if you leave me out of it, I was never upset if I wasn't invited to the party. And a lot of the music business was like, what crew did you come from? And I didn't actually come from any. I was just like a guy that was good at solving specific problems, and it just never was going to be like I'm going to be Clive Davis, may he rest in peace. I'm never going to be like one of those guys, regardless of what I thought talent I had. I just didn't get the groove. So I just moved on into things that I could derive a paycheck from,
Right.
and that was like product. And even in that world, like skincare, cosmetics, fragrance, supplements, like look at me, like nobody really wanted. I once had the great distinction. This is a very true and very funny story. We were approached by Lou Reed's team, and Lou wanted to do a fragrance and all of these wonderful things. And the guy that I was working with at the time was like, Alex, you know what your job is? I said, no. He goes, you get to go explain to Lou Reed that nobody wants to smell like a 65-year-old homeless man. Right. And so that like I got those jobs, like, go in there and I recognize that like that's really just problem solving on a large scale. Like people don't actually think what goes into cosmetics or fragrance, like how many parts and pieces and where they all come from and how does plastic and metal and glass all get together, whatever. And I did that, to whatever point of success I could have, and then on to the next and on to the next. And it's really what made my career was solving the next set of problems and finding the client, and that led me into things that I found really interesting. Not that any of the other stuff wasn't, but like I had clients that were in the green revolution. Okay. And then I had clients that were in the organic space, which I really loved until you realize that organic's just a sales tool. And
Mhm.
that moved me into wellness, which was really paying attention to the universe, which is another, I think, kind of skill of mine. I know I get it when I'm being tapped on the shoulder, and unfortunately, my wife was like super ill with copper toxicity from an IUD from our child, and nobody wanted to listen to her. That's what she had. Like, do you know how rare that is? Yeah, but that doesn't negate the
Wow.
fact that one person might have it because not everybody gets it. and legitimately paying attention to the universe. I met my business partner today that you know well, Dr. Bear, and I met him by pure happenstance. And he changed not just my wife's life, but the outcome and the trajectory of what I was doing, because I was putting super shiny, useless objects in the world. They were successful, they were great, but how many Stacker 2 products do you really need into GNC? It's still speed in a bottle, right? Um, and I was doing it well for an agency, but I wasn't fulfilled. And when somebody like switched on the wellness switch for me, like you can do things that are efficacious and sell, like it's the yes and moment as opposed to the yes but moment.
Yeah.
Um, that's just where my life started, and I've been on that track. I think 2015 is when I met Bear, so or maybe a little earlier, but
What a stud. I mean,
God,
I shouldn't use that name, but I mean it in the most affectionate way. But he is also like a pure human. What a guy.
so I get to play bouncer for him sometimes because
Oh,
as I describe myself, I'm just not the softest pillow on the bed,
mhm.
right? You're not going to fall asleep on me. And Bear is of tribe, like Anishinaabe Indian, raised on reservation, let alone PhDs and all of that wonderful stuff. So his sense is like, how do I build communities all of the time and bring people into the fold and into the tribe? And sometimes you're like, no, no. No,
Yeah.
that person is not actually allowed to hang around. Like, Alex, I don't, I'll deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And we
Let me take
became,
care of it. Yeah.
yeah, and we became the fastest of friends. I consider him a brother. And so along the path, when I found a certain technology that became ToneWell, one, he was my source of validation. So he is an absolute pioneer in what are called bio-tracker machines. He actually pioneered a machine called the bio-tracker, but legitimately, how do you track your bioresonance and your biofields and all of those things, and how do you quantize them? And in somewhere in the early 80s, he developed a system that allows you to track using frequency and harmonic the 32 operating systems of your body. So when I came across the technology that is now ToneWell, he was my first phone call. Like, he's my brother. I would partner him with on anything. We were pretty close to buying a coffee farm in Costa Rica and calling it a day, right after the
Right.
pandemic. So when I started doing this, he was the first natural phone call, let alone would have been my first phone call anyway. Just be like, hey, doc, what do you think about this? And it proved true. Like what I saw, so coming out of music, when I first started in the business, I wanted to be a producer. So I learned how to make records. And when I would make records, there was an oscilloscope and a circle with a diode, and you'd look at everything. And if it was out of phase, you'd go through the frequency stack, find the thing that was butting up against the other one, clear it out, and move forward. So fast forward a very long period of time. I am looking at a set of technology that I think I understand, smart enough to be dangerous kind of thing, but
Yeah.
also could be completely stupid. And I wanted to prove it. So I called up Bear and I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And he said, Alex. And he went on a lecture, is not the right word, but lecture of why, how, what, where. Here are the questions to ask to make sure. And it proved true. And one of maybe only two times in my life like an entrepreneurial bell went off. I like being an agent of change, agent of discovery, agent of, that's what I like doing because I just like problem solving. So it was always interesting to have somebody new set of problems come in, but I had this eureka moment where I was like, hey, and I'd never really had that. My wife is happy for me because I'm finally building something for myself. Like, I can't get fired from my own business kind of thing. Well,
Yeah.
I
It's
might.
agency.
Yeah, it has agency. Exactly. It has,
Yeah.
and though it's totally daunting, as you well know, like you talk to enough people that are in that world, but like there's reason to get up in the morning, and reason to go fight that next battle. And we were we were very fortunately featured on CNBC this morning, and I got all of
That's
these
awesome.
kudo.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing! I got all these kudo calls, and I'm looking at a list of things that I actually needed to accomplish today. Like,
Right.
wow, if this could negate all of these things, that would be awesome. And that's fun. Like that's how I get here. It's just like it goes back to music, like legitimately. Found a band in a frat house, We ended up doing 250 shows a year for many years in a row. We took them to the height of what they could have been. We sold about 500,000 CDs, full price, full boat of the thing. And it started with like, I just closed my eyes and I went, you know where they say I should go? And I've never lost that, thankfully, that like wondrous, like, how does the world get to know this?
Well,
So
I know you well enough to know that there is that wondrous thing and that you can see the dots to be connected and problem solve. But I also know that you're listening to the universe.
yeah,
Like when it's tapping you, because that's a muscle one has to build. And people
yes.
can say that's woo woo all you want, but I've been living by that my entire business career and life for that matter. And it works. You just have to build the muscle to pay
It
attention.
exactly right. You know, what's funny is that like people say, "Oh, you got there because of X." I did because I decided to take the ride, but it was cashing in the ticket to get on the ride. And that's the thing that people don't do,
Yeah.
right? Like I've taken an enormous amount of risks in my life. Believe me, I got all the scars to prove it. Like I can tell you exactly what's in the bank account because I have no idea how much time is left, and that's just actually how I've lived. So I had friends when I was living the life of yore, out on the road, whatever, and they were at Bear Stearns. I'll just pick a place that isn't there any longer, and did the 100 hours, 120 hours, whatever the crazy of the 90s used to be. There was a car downstairs to take you home to change your clothes to bring you back.
Right.
When they were doing that, I was out seeing the world. Now, the converse of that is like when I was in my like late 30s to 40s and I was trying to figure out how to build a business, they were already in that groove, right? So there is like the slap back of both things, and that's that muscle of being like, well, the universe says go do that and go do it. I've had plenty of things not work out, but believe me, I have a brain. I remember, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people lose out on is like, yeah, it went wrong. Okay,
And
I'm still
you
here.
still and you learned a ton,
Yeah,
right? So I think this would be a good time because we're talking about ToneWell and your background. We brought ToneWell into the discussion, but it is arguably sci-fi to the max.
yeah, Buck Rogers. Yeah,
And once people hear it, they go, "You're kidding! Like that can't possibly work."
right.
And so describe it so the audience at least has an idea. And I
Sure.
encourage everybody to go use it. And not just because Alex and I are friends and Bear and I are friends and but we've used the ToneWell process to what is arguably a great outcome. And
Mm-hmm.
so um, uh, the uh, the technology is like stellar and really amazing. But describe how it works.
Sure. So ToneWell says exactly what it is. So we use tone to make you well. And what I mean by that is this. We take a 30-second sound bite, we run it through our proprietary algorithm, we extrapolate pretty close to 1,000 biomarkers, then we use our workflow and deliver a wellness report to people in under 5 minutes. Why the under 5 minutes is important is because it makes it actionable. So I like to think of us as an analytic and not a diagnostic. First off, diagnostic is a medical world. I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV kind of thing. But an analytic is how you look at something and process the information so that you can make the next set of choices. So voice is used as a diagnostic in other worlds. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to be a consumer facing opportunity. And why it's really interesting to me is a couple things. First and foremost, the technology before we process is called FFT, and it stands for Fast Fourier Transfer Technology. And what that does is it takes a waveform sound and makes it zeros and ones. It's kind of how we're having this conversation. It's
Yep.
not the sound that's going through the microphone, beaming off the satellite and coming back. It's made into zeros and ones so it can travel independently and be put back together in the speaker. Okay. So that allows us to take a waveform and make it into something we can process. And then after that, our algorithm is actually so AI gets complicated and confused in things. What we actually do as a process is we have a static database of about 150,000 and growing every day pieces of information that we can prove are true. This correlates to that. This is associated with that. It allows us to scale, defend, and audit, meaning every time I put something in, it came out the same. I can do one at a time, 5,000 at a time. I can show you exactly where the correlation is and why. That's the defend part, right? And audit. Oh, you need me to go back and find that? Sure. And then once that output happens for us, it's in a JSON script, and that's when AI takes over. So AI is our workflow, the templates we build, our engagement strategy, but not the information architecture. So therefore, it doesn't drift, there doesn't hallucinate. It's right up the pipe. Now, why this is really interesting for the wellness space is the immediacy of it. We are literally having a conversation. If I hit record for 30 seconds on this conversation, and I waited 25 seconds for the process to happen, and in 5 minutes the email shows up, I can do something about the now. So if I did it first thing in the morning, I can figure out my patterns of my day, what to eat, how to exercise, what to supplement, what I'm missing, what I'm deficient in, maybe what I'm hyper in, as opposed to other tests which all have time and place. Doc, I don't feel well. Alex, make an appointment, come in. I came in. Oh, yeah, we should take a look at that. I'm going to set you up for a blood panel. Go make that appointment, go to the blood panel, have the lab do it, send it back to me. I'm going to give you a call. Alex, this is what we found. That's a that's a diagnostic.
And
Yeah.
it's about a month process.
Yeah. But the thing about it is that that's not actionable for you today, right? So I live on a really simple premise, which is the world is drowning in data. I think it's purposeful, but the world is drowning in data. Yet you come up with like the most basic questions. Why don't I feel well? Why aren't I functioning well? And those two things, feel and function, are actually like an input output equation, right? And if I could change some of the inputs, feeling, who I'm around, they make me feel like junk. So you eliminate them, right? That person makes me feel great. You spend more time with them. So on like the chemistry experiment level of us, like the DNA level of us, if you knew that you were deficient in zinc, boron, manganese, vitamin K, so on and so on and so on, then you could be like, oh, I could source that. My empathetic nervous system is really jacked up right now, and I don't have enough magnesium glycinate in me. So it says, oh, I can go to the supermarket, the Rite Aid, the vitamin shop. I can find the best bespoke Himalayan version, if there is such a thing, right? And have it delivered and take it. That you can do something about. And if that makes you feel better, then you might say to yourself, what else can I do? When I left Sony in 2007, I literally used to drink like a 6 pack of Coke a day because it was free in the fridge. And when I left Sony, I was like, well, I'm definitely not paying $1 every time for soda any longer. And in like 2 weeks, I lost 15 pounds.
It's
All I
wild.
did was eliminate soda. So
Yeah.
I said to myself, what else can you do? And I started eating better and now in my 50s, I'm in much better shape than I was in my 30s, right?
So
Because I
you
just,
talk. Go ahead.
that's just it, because it's just little habits, it's little things.
Yeah. So you talked about how you can validate the data because you have this uh,
Yeah, like a corpus of information.
corpus of info. Thank you.
Mhm.
And so one would say, well, wait a minute. How could you possibly do that from a voice note? So help us understand that
Sure.
how why that's real.
So first I'm going to go like completely esoteric on you and say in the beginning there was the word. It is the
Right.
first line of the Bible.
Yeah.
It means that creation was spoken. The good Lord didn't come off the mountain and toil with a hammer. He
Yeah.
said light, water, animals, right? And then named them, by the way, so that there was a differentiator in them. So first off, recognize that the universe is a giant waveform with frequency bundled into it. That is your reality, which is why your mindset matters, which is why it should be, if you can see it, you can be it. And that's who you want to be. So you start projecting that into the world and you start acting that way and you start reading the books that make you, right. And that's that notion of it. So there's that. And then there's science. Okay. So science is Nikola Tesla, Wilhelm Reich, both pushed out of mainstream society. Fine. Then there is recognizing that Texas Instruments and GE are probably the make the MRI machine or the CAT scan or the CT scan or the QEEG machine. These are all using frequency. Some of them use magnets to bounce them back, but they're all using frequency to either measure, like a QEEG cap is measuring the frequency in your brain, or an MRI or a CAT scan. The reason you're going into those little tubes is because the metal bounces back the frequency, and they're using specific frequency, not broad spectrum everything, but specific frequencies that they bombard the parts of the body that's supposed to be looking at with, and then what comes back is what they map, right? So there is 100 years at this point, but we'll call it 30 plus years of hardcore Mayo Clinic, John Hopkins, Harvard, MIT. Matter of fact, there is a voice company called Sanden Health that is a joint venture between MIT and the Israeli tech highway that comes out that uses voice as a qualifier for employer employee. Very B2B, we're B2C. Mayo Clinic uses voice for cardiology because it's much faster to tell if Alex is having a heart attack by the way that he's speaking than get them all hooked up and connected. Just as accurate and easier. So there is a plethora of science in what is frequency resonance. So, like from the real outside, singing bowls, or go to YouTube and put on 432 hertz and sit there quietly, or go to an amazing company who I know that you've had on before, like a Newcom, that's using frequency to reset your alpha and your beta and your theta waves, right? Like these are all there. Or if you've ever said to somebody, I don't have the bandwidth for that. That didn't resonate with me. You better watch your tone when you talk to me. You're speaking to them in frequency. You're just not buying into it. So for us, there are a couple things that we look at on a waveform, like peak and valley. Like there is literally the hertz. Like the Earth is 7.82 hertz. It's what it vibrates at. So the bottom of your hertz scale is like a 2. You don't hear it, but it's the noises you make, right? And then the top is probably when you're really upset, squeaky up here, right? So those are hertz. Like on a bandwidth on your radio dial, you can go from the bottom of 88.1 or whatever to 108.7. And that's your bandwidth. It's just going this way in a waveform. Then there's like the auditory stuff, like the acoustics, the temporals, like where in time and space, temporal, the acoustics, how far apart, what it's hitting, how thick is all of the subtones. These things really matter. So if you've ever had like a kidney stone and you got into one of those dunk tanks and they're bombarding you with frequency to break up the kidney stone so you can pass it easier, well, if they had the wrong frequency, they would be breaking your bones, but they don't. They have the right frequency, so it's still calcification. It's what those kidney stones are, but they're the right one, so it just dispels that, right? So we're using these things every day. We just don't recognize them. Like, how is my laptop working right now? It's not plugged in. We grew up with copper wire, right? Like you had to
twisted pair, right? Yeah.
Right. So it's because the bandwidth that my laptop uses carries a specific frequency pattern that Comcast or whomever is dialing into, and Riverside is amplifying, right? So these things we're already engaged in. What makes this feasible today is actually the ubiquitousness of the phone. Okay? So it's not the know-how of how to, it's the delivery system of is it capable. So our phones today have as good of a microphone. There's only 2 microphone companies in phones that matter. really. Otherwise, it's like a junky phone. And those microphones are as good as like what the Beatles recorded the White Album on,
Isn't that
right?
wild? Yeah.
Or you've heard it a million times. Your phone has enough processor to send a space shuttle into space.
Yeah.
Well, could we harness this and use this for something? Sure. As our workflow, as our delivery systems, all of these things that are now like second nature to us, they're not. It's hardcore technology, right? Like, is Google really listening? Yes, but are they microphone listening? No. They're
Yeah.
subliminally listening. They're using parts and pieces of the atmosphere. Like like the real crazy ones are like they can map your house with Wi-Fi. Well, it's kind of like what they used to do with sonar or radar 60 years ago because it's pushing out a signal, and whatever gets in its way it can map.
Right.
So we're already at this turn. It wasn't, I mean, we have a ton of science. I don't mean to be flippant about it because I'm the entrepreneur here, but we have a ton of white papers and studies, and that's the fortunate part here. It's like I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and all I have to do is look above the rim.
Hmm.
It's my job. So
Look, it will become clear to many, but with just our little experience as a data set, I mean, the thing works. Like
oh yeah,
it doesn't go off the rails. It doesn't hallucinate. It says,
no,
all right, it looks like this is a problem, and then we go solve that problem, and the evidence is there that the problem, first of all, existed, and second, the solution actually mitigated the problem. Like it
yeah,
just, and I don't mean to be woo woo, and I'm glad you explained it much uh, in a much more interesting way than I expected. But to me, we already know that this table is hard because of the frequency at which the atoms are moving.
yes,
That's simple. So everything's
that's
frequency.
simple.
Yeah,
Everything.
yeah,
Which is so the interesting thing about that for me is like, again, like I started making records when I it was a 2-inch tape, which is a magnetic strip, and you would edit it with a razor blade.
yeah,
And when I finished making music in 2007, so like let's call that a almost 20-year period of making records,
yeah.
everything was in a laptop. You know what didn't change though? The drummer still was hitting a drum. Yes,
Right.
they're drum machines and da 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 da. Fine, great,
Yeah,
terrific.
yeah,
But the guy playing the saxophone was still playing the saxophone.
yeah.
So even though it went into a microphone that might now be a different style of microphone, it still had to move the air,
Mm-hmm.
and that had to be turned into a signal flow, right? Electricity into some sort of board. Even if your computer is a board, like the dashboard in the computer still looked like a mixing desk, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of those things evolved, but the like we've been playing drums in a cave for, I'll just I'll give them the 100,000 years. I think they're lying to us, but that's a different conversation, right? Like you're still beating the drum. So in music, again, you can't actually copyright rhythm because there are only so many rhythms. They're either South American, like down here, or African, like those are the rhythms, and we all know them. They're in our DNA. It's the melody that you can be like, I came up with the melody line, but the rhythm, which was my point, is like that's always been there. So do you care how it was translated to you? No, and that's really what we are. We're a translation layer. Blood is completely valid, urine's valid, swabs are valid, hair is valid. All of those things are super valid for what you use them for. Blood is a great chemistry experiment. It really is. It's like a great diagnostic for chemistry. The problem is its latency. So you can't use that on a daily. And
Mm-hmm.
and like Function Health is a great example because I truly wish I've raised 800 and some odd millions of dollars. But you know what they did modern? They sent the blood test to your house. You still have to get a phlebotomist to draw the blood.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
So all they did was what? Direct it to you. You still have to go make the appointment, which is why they claim we're going to give you 100 tests.
Yeah,
Okay. But by the time that interaction has happened, all you get are these big markers and not like, what can I do today to
yeah.
feel better? How do I build a better solution set for me, more optionality, make better choices. The choices you make limit the choices you have. Good choices, bad choices go away. Bad choices, good choices go away. But you don't know that unless you're informed. And then, like the wearables, a wearable for me is like, I've been an athlete my whole life. I have kept journals my whole life. When I'm running, I know how to take my HRV. When I'm eating, I know how to write down my calories. I know how to write down my exercise. And what it's done is just simplified that. When I started in the business world, I used to have to make my database with FileMaker Pro, and then somebody introduced Excel. And 2 days ago on Manus AI, I just built an Excel spreadsheet. Well, it's not Excel, a spreadsheet for a client, and it took me 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It used to take me 2 hours just to set the field properly, but it's still a spreadsheet.
Right.
Right. So wearables to me that are tracking, that's my point. It's like, that's why we're drowning in data. You could track your sleep score forever, but all you know is that you got an objective score to something that you don't know why, and it could be like the simplest solution for you. Like take GABA an hour before you go to bed. Don't eat spicy food after 3 o'clock. Whatever, like whatever your thing is, but until you can identify what that is, it's like this. And that was the aha moment for me, like not trying to jump into a hot, flat, crowded world, but I actually think that's where opportunity sits. When everybody's on the field playing, you know the stands are full.
Yeah.
And if
Right.
the stands are full and I can just run through that crowd and get the touchdown, the whole place is going to go, oh my God, I want that guy.
Yeah.
Right. And that was where ToneWell was. People like, you're crazy. What about wearables? How are you going to compete with Google? Like the most incredible thing of this last week for me. Did you hear about Mid-Journey Medical?
I did read something about that. Yeah.
Brilliant. So Mid-Journey, arguably the first real AI image company. Now they happen to make everything look like fantasy Dungeons and Dragons, but that's neither here nor there. And they had it on Discord, which was brilliant because they got to every gamer and every cosplay person in the world right out the gate, so everybody could make their own little emojis. Brilliant. But they've been so successful at doing that that they internally funded a medical company that they have this now like an immersive dunk take. It's the easiest way to explain it. That in 60 seconds, it from foot to head reads your whole body and helps you figure out what your protocol should be. And they want to launch spas. They have a claim of like by 2031, they want to have like 50,000 locations. It's fascinating. And the reason that is possible is because they've been riding this technology like the AI, and now they understand imagery enough that they can just do the converse, which is actually how my tech came along. I had a client that was in PEMF, and they were delivering waveform and frequency to help people with things like Lyme's disease and real medical issues, on top of I have a torn meniscus or it's a new moon and I'm in a bad mood, all of the things that are opportunity set in PMF. But you have to be able to change the shape of the waveform or else your body gets used to it and starts eliminating. And you have to be able to change the frequency because not all frequency is for the same thing. I can't get rid of my headache with the thing that's also going to fix my knee. Right. And when I had a conversation with them, because I was doing marketing and audience capture, and this is where I called Bear, I said, Bear, what do you think about PAMF? And he went on forever. I went, okay, cool. So what about the converse? And that's my point with Midjourney. What about the converse? So you're delivering waveform with specific bundled frequency. Can I go the other way? Can I take specific frequency on a waveform called your voice and analyze it back to what the basic components are? And their answer was yes. We're just not doing it. And I went, great. So we're going to do it. Right. And that's where this came together, because you just look at these opportunity sets of like, the world is drowning in, I don't know what to do, but I've tracked everything. Right. God willing, you have an 8 Sleep. Amazing product. Who, by the way, is a great company because they recognized they had to do an FDA pathway, because if in the middle of the night they see a heart murmur, they can't not tell you. On the other side, they can't tell you. They can't tell you unless they have FDA approval to tell you. And they can't not tell you because what's the point of having anything that's efficacious if I can't be like, hey, Alex, last night at 3 o'clock in the morning, you had this little cardiac event. You might want to go get that checked out. right?
Yeah.
So that's where this comes from. Like, how do you help somebody build a better relationship with themselves that's actionable, like now?
So walk us through the process. And I've done it, so I'll just start. So you take out your phone, you put a 30-second voice note. You're not reading from anything, which is apparently important. You're just casually
Yeah, just talk.
dictating something without any pressure, without any
Mhm.
looking at something. And then you hit send, and within seconds, like not
Yeah.
minutes, seconds,
Hmm.
it produces this report, and the
Yep.
report is really robust.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about
So
what
you've gone to tonewell.co, TONEWELL.co, and you have decided to engage with us. So you pick your package. At the moment, it's one or three. It will evolve in a minute, and I'll tell about that. And it prompts you to speak. The reason that we don't want you to read anything is because reading is thinking, thinking is processing, and processing is playing the part to the world, right? All the world's a stage, you're just playing your part. No. This is just speak. I will. There are two caveats here. One, nobody actually listens. It's not the business we're in. As I
Mhm.
said earlier, we instantly turn it into an FFT file anyway. So the words are gone within a minute of within a second of you finishing. And then secondly, because of data privacy, which is very important to us, we're not trying to ask you questions. I don't want your family history. I don't
Right,
We don't
right,
want that. So then what happens is you'll get a prompt in your email that you say, yes, that is me. It's a magic link, whatever. So we can confirm it's you. When you're done recording, you put down your phone. The rest is on us. You do not need to stay on the platform. You do not, there's no app to download. You probably found us via a hyperlink or a website or whatever. We're easy to find. And then we do the rest. And what we do is 30 seconds to speak. It literally takes 25 seconds to process. And then the rest of us is A B testing. Got to make sure we're right. Can't just give you slop. And then we send you a report. The report is very straightforward, though it's about 16 scrolls, it's about 9 pages. It's very straightforward. We prioritize the top 5 things in our 8 buckets. 8 buckets being things like sleep, digestion, energy, hydration, pathogens, toxins, those type things. And then we prioritize for you so you can actually do something. Here are the 5 priorities. We always tell you something that's good. You should have a baseline of that you're doing well. I mean, seriously, we live in such gloomy days. It's nice to know I'm doing something well, great. And then we prioritize like the things that you can work on. Keep this on your radar. Consider them the yellow light. As long as you're good with crossing that lane because you don't see any traffic coming at you, good to know the light's yellow, about to turn red. And then we have our red, what I'll call our full stop moment. This is what you should prioritize today. And then our roadmap is day 1, day 3, day 10. And in a 10-day cycle, you should be working on these things so that you can change your output. So your input and your output are very much aligned in life, very much like your intention and your attention. Like if you ever want to accomplish something and you have no intention, then you're not going to do anything. All of your attention's going to nothing. And
somewhere
if
else. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
and if you don't have if you have intention but you can't put any attention to it, it's like, what I should do.
Mhm.
Yeah, you should do the thing that you said you should do, right? So what we do is we make really basic game plans, and everything that we recommend is what I'll call over the counter. So like if I were to say to you go exercise, I don't mean go to the gym for 2 hours. Congratulations. I mean like go for a walk for 10 minutes, 15 minutes after you've eaten. It's summertime in our hemisphere currently. Like do yourself a favor, eat a meal, go outside for 10 minutes and take a walk. When
Exactly.
if you want to go to sleep, yes, all of the other things I said, the boron, the magnesium glycinate, the GABA, the melatonin. How about you turn off your screen an hour before you go to bed so that your body knows? One of the things that people don't understand about technology is that we're revved to use it more. So again, we were raised with the cathode ray tube, the television set, and the television set is a middle C on a keyboard, middle C, very warm. It's a very nice note. The phones and the screens that we use are sharp A. That's all the way to the right. It's the last key. Ding, ding, ding,
Mm.
ding, 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 ding. That's why
Yeah.
you're so anxious. And unless
Yeah.
you turn that off, your body is fear of missing out, fear of missing out. What's next? I got to scroll. Put it down. Let your body take a breath and then go to bed. And if you combine that with other things that could be recommended to you, and I can change your sleep, you now get this cascade event. Well, that means your inflammation might go down, and your digestion becomes better, your energy might be better, your focus, your acuity, right? Because we're just a Rube Goldberg machine. It's like what thing moves the other thing? The feather could move the bowling ball if in between that there's a candle, a rope, and a boot, right? So that's really our process today. I call our what I call is our tool is available, our analytic tool. In short time, like a week from now that we're recording, so early July, we will open up what I call our intelligence concierge. And our intelligence concierge is AI, because most of what I've spoken about prior to is not. It's actually automated workflow, different than AI. And what we've just built and are about to launch is our concierge. And our concierge is really cool. And I'm super excited about it because it's temporal and contextual. So temporal is time and space. When did Arthur say this to me? I should understand it and know it so I can keep it in my context, right? And then contextual. What does Arthur say to me? So when you've done a scan with us, you then will get a notice. Please participate with us. You'll have a 25-minute phone call or a conversation recording, take it how you want, with our agent that we've built for you. They
Like
get,
Bordy.
yeah, like Bordy. Thank you. Just like Bordy. That gets to know you, that contextualize Arthur, because we haven't asked your question. I've asked first name, last name, email, phone number. So I don't actually know anything about you.
Yeah.
You're just a tokenized opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So I now want to get to know you so I can contextualize what I'm looking at so that our opportunity set goes from just like here to here. Because if you were to say to me, I'm really stressed right now, I'm working on a project, everybody's coming at me a million miles per hour, I then have context to why your cortisol might be through the roof or why your manganese might be low or what, like with the correlations. And
Mm.
then I can help you with me and you prioritize. So if you're like, don't worry about my sleep, I just want my energy. All right, cool. I won't worry about your sleep. Let's work on your energy. Funny enough, if I can work on your energy, believe me, I'll start pulling up your sleep also, right?
Mm.
And that context allows for the better outcome. So for us, when you do a scan with us, you get a 14-day companion that checks in with you. You can tell me, don't call me, email me, don't email me, text me, don't text me, WhatsApp me, like Bordy, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we'll reach out every day. Hey, Arthur, what's going on? And in that, as you talk, we can begin to hone in on
Oh,
the
yeah. Yeah.
opportunity. And that's where we're headed, is into
That's,
the personal operating
I'd be
system.
excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude,
Yeah.
it is so cool. I think you've met Oliver. Actually, I know
Yeah.
you've met Oliver,
Yeah.
who we're building it with. And
Yeah. He's smart.
so when I first started building this, as I do with everything, I sketched it out. Like, if you're going to model something, go get some cardboard and cut it out. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, literally make a model. And so when I first started building this, I built it on Maker, and then I realized Maker wasn't right. So then I built it on N8N because I understand how to build workflows. I've done that enough times. And it kept breaking because it was kind of designed to, because everything was like out of the box, like, ooh, this Lego piece goes with that Lego piece. They're not of the same Lego set, but good enough for now. Like, I can just mock it up. And I did that until I found Oliver, who actually I've known for years, but until I reconnected with him. And he was like, cool, I'm going to throw this all out. However, I totally understand the blueprint. There was no, okay, so what do you mean? He
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah.
totally understand what you're trying to do. You're doing it wrong. Fine, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But, right? And so now we've gotten into this cadence. So we'll start opening up features like, if you allow us into your calendar, I can set a reminder every day. Turn off your phone, take your manganese, go for a walk. You happy to send you, ultimately, you want nutritional plans? Do you want, do
Yeah.
you want a mantra? Whatever the thing is that you need to build that relationship with yourself. And that's really
I
like
think the
what we're trying to do.
calendaring would be helpful for a lot of people because you already know I have a human calendar,
Yes.
and so it's always sitting there waiting for me.
Yes.
My whatever the like for the audience, there were outcomes that clearly needed to be addressed, and so there
Yes.
were some supplements that we're taking that are mitigating some of that.
Sitting immediately to my left right here are all of the supplements that I take because they used to live in my refrigerator and I would never take them. And
Right.
my wife is like, why? I was like, because now I have to go remember and turn them around. So they're now sitting on my desk and they all have labels on them,
Yeah.
right? Like, but that could exist in my pocket. I just so happen to have a wife that loves me and wants me to be better. But like all of that, all of those things like that like the optionality set that we sit in right now of like how do you automate your life, how do you build your own personal operating system, like I have no problem with western medicine, it's just not for me kind of guy, like I'm just that person, like
Mm.
I but I burn the candle at both ends. Not only am I a startup guy and I run a consulting business, but as you know, like I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so like I ask a lot of my body and I need to recover and I need to have that built in, and that type of repetition which just isn't natural for me, so I had to schedule it into my life. And so when we were building out this layer, I was like, hey, I need a calendar. He's like, yeah, that's easy. Hey, I need a is no, no. So that's
Yeah.
where we're headed, because
It's
after
really,
that the next turn is like, how do I let Arthur upload his wearable? Those are all open APIs.
yeah.
You should be able to put your Garmin or your Whoop or your Aura or your HRV
Everything
into a
is open API
yeah.
now. I'll tell you, I don't know if you did it intentionally, but I think it is. I don't know if it was intentionally gamification, but what we haven't said is when you do your first baseline report,
Yep.
you have a score.
Yes.
And the score is kind of amorphous, like you really don't
It's
know what that
it is.
means. But when you do the next one and your score goes up, you're going, holy cow,
Right.
right? And so there's a little gamification built
So
into it.
that score actually is it took myself, Bear, and our science team a minute to hone in on it. It's a coherence score. So it's actually taking the average of all of the pluses and minuses, good, bad, indifferent, and saying you should actually know that this is how in tune coherence you are with yourself.
Yeah.
It's not a evaluation score, which most people take it at. It's a so you know, right? Because you could have a high coherence score and then have something that is miserably off the rails. That doesn't make you defective. It makes you a human being,
Yeah.
right? And that's one of the things that like it drives me crazy about the world that we live in is like I have to point out all the things that are wrong with you so that I can tell you how we can. No, it's like it's why I say like I don't want to tell you what's wrong with you. I'd rather tell you what's going on with you,
Yeah.
because I don't know what the factors are to get there. I don't know the story. I don't want to judge the shoes you're walking in. I just want to tell you what the next mile could look like. That's really so we had to put a score in there because everybody wants one, right? And at the same time we wanted it to be based on you, not us. Like I'm not ranking you. This is what you're putting out. So one of our great case studies is so women that are going through hormonal changes are one of our big personas. And one of our big cases that came through Bear was a woman in her, I'm going to say mid 60s. She's already been through menopause, but she's having all of these hormonal things happening now. And when I spoke to her on the phone, she was telling me that like she wakes up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, like her house is on fire. And she's been to every doctor and had every test and da 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 da. And I would say to her, yeah, but those are like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, aren't they? And she's like, yeah, how'd you know that? I was like, because it's a doctor. Of course they
Right.
were.
Yeah. Right.
And when you show up at 10 o'clock for the blood test and 2 o'clock, like everything's fine. She's like, yeah, it's driving me crazy. I said, here's the interesting thing. You have a phone, right? And she's like, yes, Alex, you know I have a phone. I was like, good, because it was a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
But the next time that happens, grab your phone, do a ToneWell. That's the opportunity. It's the snapshot of the actual moment. So when that happened for her, She got
Super
our scan,
interesting.
she got a report. It was awesome for her, but because she came through a practitioner, not just Bear, but a practitioner, we pulled the raw data, which I do not do customarily because of HIPAA and law and blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
But when
yeah.
a practitioner sends it, okay, cool, great, terrific, and it was a physical file, not through our app. I should put that all out there. But I sent her the raw data. Funny thing happened on the way to the forum, as they say. She took that information and went to the doctor. You know what was going wrong? Her doctor. Nothing against the doctor. Not Bear, who she went to afterwards, who's a naturopath, but her doctor, because she was on like 7 different medications. And the problem with that isn't the 7 medications, is that when you take them stacked in the course of the day, they were doing this at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they were causing this alarm. The really interesting postscript on that is she's now down to like 2, because she didn't actually need the other 5. And as soon as she started eliminating them, other things started going away, and it was because I could send her in with an empowerment tool. Very affluent, very successful human being. But when you walk into a room and you have 12 minutes with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
you're more in the listening stage than you are in the I'm my own agent. I'm going to
Right.
go my own advocate. I'm just going to but they told me it could be. Yeah, it could, but it doesn't mean, because there wasn't enough transactional information for you to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's, again, another thing, like for ToneWell, is like it's a snapshot. It's like if you've ever been on like a photo shoot back in the day, everybody had a Polaroid because you actually needed to take the shot right now. Before I go spend all of this money trying to shoot the cover of Rolling Stone, does that outfit look good on them? Well, a 90-cent Polaroid was much
Right.
better,
Will
right?
do.
And
Yeah.
it's that snapshot. That's that opportunity.
So, like, this is all speculation, but it sounds to me in that example that you used that eliminating those 5 other drugs probably let her body heal itself to a greater extent than
Yes.
them fighting each other during all that time, right?
Yes, and the thing is, it's like once you're on something, you're on something, and
Mm.
like, and nothing against doctors, maybe against pharmacists. They're never
Yeah.
like, so we recognize that you've been on that for 5 years.
Right.
Maybe go get another evaluation of it, because now you're just using it. Is it benefiting you? So, like, I say this the other way contextually, like NAD plus. NAD plus is one of those things that everybody needs, but not everybody needs to take. Your body needs NAD. It's one of the building blocks. But if you're already making it, just because some Instagram influencer told you that they have the best doesn't actually mean that you need it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't take TRT. Because I don't actually need it. I have good testosterone. I take an estrogen blocker because they're actually the exact same pathway of creation in your body. And I'm just trying to block my body making estrogen in my 50s. I don't actually need TRT because my body's still making it. Right. And that's really important, because as soon as if I were to start testosterone replacement therapy, then that's what I'm doing,
Yeah.
right? And that's where ToneWell comes about, and like why we built it as a company, and obviously why I'm trying to raise money and trying to get to the bigger world, and why you do the CNBC stuff. It's like I have no desire to be a talking head. I don't. I like
No,
anonymity.
the interview was good though.
Yeah,
She did a good job of, even though it was short and it was designed to be short, is she did a good job piecing it
yeah. It
together.
was. It's funny. I've had a bunch of people ask me. They're like, was that paid media or earned? I said, well, I paid the PR guy to get me the interview,
Right.
but I earned the spot on television. So you take that as you want. Like,
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Like I paid to go into that amazing place, but yes, there was a beautiful girl at the bar. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah.
it is what it is,
Yeah,
man.
it paid the guy at the door.
Yeah.
Right?
I paid the
Yeah,
guy at the door to walk in.
yeah,
It didn't mean that like anybody was going to pay attention to me. Believe me. Like as I was saying earlier, like we're in the process of like trying to pitch Bloomberg. If I'm not their cup of tea, my PR guy still did his job by getting me to the producer. If the producer doesn't like me,
yeah.
no TV for you.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah. There's what's the for an investor, I
Yep.
think the path is clear because it's a revenue generating enterprise.
Mhm.
But beyond that, is this an exit to Whoop? Is this an exit to somebody like that? Or is this
Yeah,
a
so I said it earlier, like I think that we're just a translation layer. Like it's legitimately what I think that we exist to be in the world. So how do
Mhm.
you take this completely objective conversation and make it subjective to the individual? So the way that I liken us is like my goal is to be like the Intel chip. So think about this. When Intel first went into business, there was Gateway and Dell and
I remember that.
and Compact and they totally could have been Intel computers. But they said to themselves, you know what we do better? We make chips
Chips.
better than anybody. And now they're chips in everything, and Intel is still the winner. And
Yeah,
that's kind of how I feel. Like I don't want to be Nike, I want to be the shoelace guy.
yeah.
So for us, we're a translation layer. The exit is it could be to a Whoop or an Aura. It could be to, a Samsung or an LG if you want me in your smart fridge. It could be to a car company. It could be to or it could be to Meta for your glasses. It's
Mhm.
anybody that wants the translation so that the individual consumer can engage themselves. So, for example, in like the how do you build your business, SEO is the old buzzword, is now GEO and AGO. Because if you're not on ChatGPT and say I don't feel well, what do I do, and it's supposed to say to you, oh, go get a ToneWell and bring me back the results, and then I'll tell you exactly what to do, right? So that's down the road. That we're an exit company. Like
Mhm. Yeah.
I want this to be my legacy and my life's work, but not what I do for the next 30 years, right?
Totally.
I'll be in
Totally.
my 80s. So we're an API translation layer that fits to the next wave of consumer, right? And that's really like it's always been my goal as a consumer package guy, like it always has been. How do you build it? Like I've done a lot of fragrance independently for like licensors, and their whole goal has always been to sell it to L'Oreal or Revlon or Estee Lauder. It's the same model, but this is based upon a couple things. One, contextual information, not data. Like I'm not trying to sell Arthur, I'm trying to collect. Like for example, if somebody asked me today, and I'm only like 20,000 scans in, but if you asked me today, what would be a product that you would build? My answer would be something to kill candida. I see it in about 80 to 90% of people. I know it's crazy.
Well, I don't even know what that is, Alex.
So, candida is a yeast caused by fungus in your digestive tract. It's one of the things that causes bloat. It's one of the things that makes you always feel full but nauseous. It's so we have a fungal problem in the United States, like mold spores,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
candida is a yeast. And it is in more digestion tracts, particularly people on the East Coast, particularly people north of Washington, D.C., than almost anything I see. That and H. pylori. But H. pylori, I actually understand. I don't understand why there's so many people with candida personally. And like if I was in the supplement business and you came to me tomorrow, I'd be like, yeah, go build an oregano pill
Yeah.
because it kills candida. It's not a complicated thing to do, but unless you know it, it's the thing that like it went away and then it came back and then went away and then it's a yeast. It's
Yeah,
like
really.
it's like my sourdough starter in my fridge.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
totally dormant until I
No, I-
feed it.
right.
So
So I think I mentioned this to you, and you probably are, but when we're feeling a little iffy, like maybe a cold coming on, or
oregano oil.
we just we have it in our go bag.
Oregano oil, man. So
It's magic.
so oregano is one of the most unsung heroes of the medicine cabinet.
Yeah,
It's so this first inclination of an itch in my throat, oregano oil.
oregano oil.
The first sense oregano. And my neighbor every year grows oregano, and I've never figured out why because she doesn't actually use it to cook. I think she just likes the plant, and it keeps bugs away. So at
Yeah,
the end of every season, she has these huge crop, and I take it and I press it just mostly because I like to,
yeah,
because you can just go buy it, right?
yeah,
It is whatever, but for your digestive tract, man, it kills everything. It's like
yeah.
it Simonizes the place, right? So my point was like in the large scale information, what's going on in a population, not the who individual. Everybody's got the who individual.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the what's going on in the population. What's the context? What are the conversations? We have a bunch
That's
of
super
in,
interesting.
yeah.
Without that interpretation layer, you wouldn't have recognized Now, what the hell's going on with this, right?
Yes. Right. So that's really like we're an exit. I think we can build fast. I'm pretty confident. So right as I was saying, like right now we're on like a one tier. You buy the scan, you get our concierge. By the fall, we will have moved into a subscription model so that like, you'll pay X amount a month, you'll get Y amount of scans, but then you'll obviously top off with credits to get more.
Yeah.
And in that we'll have more offerings. So like what does a daily check-in look like? You don't need to do ToneWell every day. First
Right.
off, it would be cost prohibitive, but more importantly, you don't need a 9-page document every day. You
Right.
really don't. That is paralysis by analysis,
Yeah.
right? You actually just need a check-in. Oh, cool. My score has done X and it's telling me to prioritize this today. One or two things a day could change the whole outcome of the race, right? Like a little adjustment, a little tack. It takes, in startup world, as I've said to every person I've ever worked with, 60% of your fuel is lost on the launching pad because
Right.
once you're up in space, it's a little.
Yeah.
All you
Right.
need. So, like
Yeah.
on a daily check-in, you only need one or two things. So
Yeah.
we'll get to that point, and we'll have more offerings and more
I like
engagement.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and our concierge will be involved more in people's planning and integration into things. So we are building to be acquired, and we're also building because we're not a marketplace. Like our goal is not actually to sell product. I think that will eliminate our credibility, right? But we are looking at enterprise things. Like I think that in telemedicine, we're a laser, right? Like Arthur has an appointment with Alex an hour from now, his practitioner, a half an hour beforehand. Arthur gets an SMS. You do a ToneWell. You get our beautiful report that's simple, straightforward. And then you go meet with Alex, the practitioner, who actually has the raw data, checks in with Arthur, has a first person conversation. Then I can diagnose what's going on and my protocols. And that's any practitioner. You're a kinesiologist, you're a Reiki healer, you're an MD. Fine.
Yeah.
Right? So that's really where we're headed. And then as our context layer moves out, things like, as silly as this sounds, but if I can get your birth date and your geography, I know what's going on with you in the climate. You're in Utah. It's a very high heat weather day, and you're in this part of your moon cycle.
Mhm.
Funny, I'll be a lot more accurate in what my recommendations to you will be, and then you'll be far more likely to share with us. Right. So that's where we're headed
I
as a
think it's
company.
really cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the concierge because people are accustomed to talking to Grok now.
Yes.
They're accustomed to having a conversation with AI.
Well, look,
Not just Gordy, it's all
no,
AI,
it's look.
right?
I still in my consulting world and what I do for like biz dev for people. I do a lot of AI consulting because believe me, I'm really thick in the weeds right now, just from what I've built personally and what I've had to do for other clients. And the first thing I say to people is stop typing, man. Hit the
Yeah,
microphone and talk to it. And they're
yeah,
like, why? I'm like, because that's actually what you want to do. And then
yeah,
you've stopped and you've had to think about it. And I can type 85 words a minute. I've been typing since I was in fifth grade. That's not the problem. It's this sentence structure that's the problem. I'm thinking noun, verb, adjective, comma, period. Nope.
yeah.
Just talk to the damn thing, understand what structure it wants, and that's where we're moving. So I don't think it's a leap for somebody to get engaged with our concierge. And since us, like everybody else, is using 11 labs, what voice do you want? Makes no
Right.
difference to me what
Yeah,
voice talks to you,
yeah.
right? So that's where we're
Everybody
headed.
likes the British voice, and they have the device now. You hook into your computer, use the computer mic. You got a foot pedal. You push the pedal, it turns the mic on. You let
Yeah,
go of the pedal. Like you don't even need to. You could
yeah,
just sit there and talk.
throttled.
Yeah,
Everything's been throttled,
yeah,
right? And that's yeah. So that's where we're going. So my point was like, imagine if your fridge like was actually a smart fridge and wasn't like Arthur, you're out of milk, but hey Arthur, you've drank a lot of milk recently. I can tell that the enzymes are da, 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 da. So milk or cheese, you choose. You by the way, you can still have ice cream because they're totally different enzymes, right? And you'd be like, oh well, that's a tough call. Let's see, I can go to almond milk, so we're gonna get rid of milk, and cheese really isn't that important to me because I love ice cream, right? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
now you can begin to engage in your own personal nutrition because you don't have to just follow the trend. You could be your own trender, like your own information palette, And that's kind of where we're trying to get to.
Yeah, aside from the trend for people talking to their AI, people are really interested in longevity. I mean,
Yes.
they're hyper focused on it. It's not just a trend; it's happening. It was
Yep.
catalyzed by COVID, along with everything else in the wellness. And as I mentioned to you, there we know for sure that there's uh, cybersecurity, AI, and wellness in corporate budgets,
Yes.
and the people are actively deploying capital. Not,
In corporate wellness, it's funny. So, like, I had a conversation with a big law firm about a month ago about their corporate wellness program, and they kept talking to me about sick days and how big. And I was like, bro, what about the guy that's like your high performance person that also wants to run a marathon and just wants to be a peak performer? Like, don't you want them to be at their best so that they can do the best for you? Yeah, it's one thing to have less sick days, totally get it.
yeah,
But wellness is a state of mind. And like, if I can engage with your guys or your gals in the sense of like, oh, let's keep you performing better. You just did 100 hours as a huge attorney or whatever, and you
yeah,
want to go do a tough mutter this weekend. Like, let me help you. You know?
yeah. I have to again. I'm a big fan. We've already established that, but for example, we did our ToneWell just a week or so ago, and I would have gone on a 3 and almost 4 hour hike up into the mountains in Utah, independent of what I knew with Tonewell. But I also was helpful in me saying, okay, I need to make sure I recover after that.
Yes.
And then, the next report we do will just demonstrate how
That's what I
necessary
use. That's
recovery
what I
time.
use it for. I use it for recovery
Yeah.
mostly in my own, unless I'm feeling off or whatever. Because as I said, like I do jujitsu, you know me, I do it every day.
Yeah.
It's like it is my yoga, it's my meditation. So I do it every day. Now there's varying degrees of output. Some days I'm 100%, some days I'm 60%, but I still do it every day.
Right.
And I need to recover, like because I have to get up the next day and go build a business or service clients or whatever. And that's how I check in with myself to make sure that I've filled up the cookie jars. Oh, there's not enough manganese. Ooh, my zinc, my boron, whatever. Like all of those things, and it's for me, it's changed my personal life because now I'm not just like dragging ass. Like I'm gonna go do it regardless. I
Right.
have the mentality to just push through it, like we all do. But
Yeah.
like I don't want to just push through it. I actually
You
want
want to
to.
be at optimal operating conditions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And recovery is underrated. Man, it's so me. And Mary has taught me that. It's like, okay, stretch.
Yeah,
Okay, let's do this.
yeah,
Let's foam roll.
yeah.
Let's do the whole. And it is miraculous what a difference it is.
It's. But here's the thing. You, you you ever heard the expression "ridden hard and put away wet"?
Yeah, that's an old rock and roll expression.
Yeah, exactly. But we all do that to ourselves, and you're like,
Yeah,
no, no, no. You actually walk the horse off until it's
yeah,
nice and cool, and then you put it back in the barn.
exactly.
And we forget about that. Like, oh, I just got a great workout in. You're like, okay, what'd you do afterwards? I got in my car and drove 20 minutes. Oh, you mean so all of your muscles just went, thanks, and you wonder why your back hurts,
Yeah.
those type things, and
Well, we go to the gym every day too. And at the end of our workout, we walk the track,
yes,
cool down,
cool
right?
down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every
I
time.
have a buddy of mine that's like was a Division 1 wrestler, went to like the tournament a couple times, like the big show. And not until I started doing jujitsu with him did I ever like do a cool down workout. Like I would stretch, I would take it easy, whatever. But he's like, no, 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 bro, stop, stop, stop. Like, let me show you. And it's changed everything for me. And I don't have as much atrophy. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's what the word I'm going to use. Like as much recoil in the muscle, being like when you wake up the next day and like it takes you a minute to stand up straight.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you're like, oh, hold on a minute, hold on, up, there we are.
Yeah,
You
that's right.
know,
Yeah. Well, this has been awesome. Thanks for doing this,
yeah,
man.
my
Really
pleasure.
appreciate it. And just tell everybody the website again.
So we are tonewell.co, TONEWELL.co. And as I said, we're in our seed raise round and going out to the world as ambitiously as we can. So We are very active in, if you need to reach out to me for anything, I'm just Alex at ToneWell.co. I legitimately have no unread messages in my life. And if there are any questions, or if anybody wants to participate with us in our round, great. In our enterprise side, or if you're in the hospitality world and you own a retreat and you want to do something special, or if you're in corporate wellness or any of that world, those are really our targets.
Yeah. Awesome. Feel free to reach out, everybody. Alex, thanks for doing this, and thanks everybody for joining us today. Till next time.